Beef, per 100 grams of cooked, lean cut, delivers roughly 26 grams of protein. That number has anchored the center of the Western dinner plate for 70 years. And yet, tucked into the pages of Genesis, Ezekiel, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, there are at least 10 cultivated plants, several of which thrive in a sunny backyard or a modest balcony container, whose protein density, when measured gram for dry gram, actually exceeds that of beef. Some reach 30 grams per 100, a few touch 40. One particular biblical seed, which we will come to in a moment, reaches almost 35% protein by dry weight. The research is solid, the seeds are inexpensive, and the scripture that names these plants is older than any agricultural textbook on your shelf. Genesis 1:29 is the verse that frames everything. Behold, I have given you every seed-bearing plant on the face of all the earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food. That single sentence, written before any reference to meat, frames the original covenant diet as plant-forward and seed-dense. The Hebrew word used for seed-bearing, zera, carries the meaning of perpetuating life, the living packet of protein, fat, and dormant enzymes that every seed contains. What they understood intuitively, we now know molecularly. A seed is a complete protein factory compressed into an efficient, portable, storable form. Let me walk you through 10 of these plants, in the order the ancient agricultural calendar would have met them across a single growing season in the hill country of Judea. Pay attention to this next part, because almost every one of them can be grown in a temperate backyard with ordinary soil and a reasonable water budget. The first is lentils, lens culinaris, referenced in Genesis 25:34, when Esau trades his birthright for the red stew. Dry lentils weigh in at 26 grams of protein per 100 grams, matching beef outright. But because you consume them as a complete grain-legume pairing with bread, the effective biological value climbs above that of a comparable beef portion. Plant them in early spring, roughly 4 inches apart, in full sun. They fix their own nitrogen. They ask almost nothing of the soil, except that it drain. 90 days to harvest. A single raised bed of lentils produces enough dry legume to feed a family a bowl of soup twice a week for 4 months. The second plant is the chickpea, Cicer arietinum, one of the earliest cultivated legumes in the ancient Near East, and almost certainly the bitter herb accompaniment referenced in multiple rabbinic commentaries on Passover meals. Dry chickpeas hold 19 grams of protein per 100 grams, and when sprouted, their amino acid profile shifts toward greater bioavailability. A 2019 paper in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry reported that sprouted chickpeas carry substantially higher levels of free amino acids and polyphenols than their unsprouted counterparts. Plant them after the last frost. They tolerate poor soil, they handle drought. Harvest them green for fresh eating or let them dry on the vine for storage. The third is hemp seed, and here we must be careful because modern readers associate hemp with one narrow contemporary use. But the hemp plant, Cannabis sativa, grown for its seed, has a biblical and ancient Near Eastern textile and nutritional history documented across multiple archaeological digs. Hemp seeds hold 31 grams of protein per 100 grams of dry weight. That is already 19% more than beef. Their amino acid profile is complete. They contain significant lignans, omega-3 fatty acids, and the full suite of essential minerals. Some scholars have proposed that the cannabosum referenced in Exodus 30:23 may refer to a related cultivated strain, though this remains a matter of textual debate. Hemp seeds are straightforward to grow in a backyard in many regions, though legal status varies, and you should check local rules. The fourth plant is the flax seed, Linum usitatissimum, which the ancient Egyptians cultivated as their national crop, and which the Israelites carried with them through the wilderness. Flax holds 18 grams of protein per 100 grams, and it is the richest botanical source of the lignan, called sequoisolariceresinol diglucoside, a mouthful of a name referenced in a 2020 paper in Nutrients, as having meaningful associations with hormonal balance and cardiovascular markers. Grind flax fresh. Do not buy pre-ground flax that has sat on a shelf, because the omega-3 fatty acids oxidize rapidly. A small coffee grinder works perfectly. Plant flax in early spring, broadcast the seed, barely cover it, and water gently. It blooms blue. It grows easily. The fifth is the sesame seed, Sesamum indicum. Referenced indirectly through the crushed oil traditions of the ancient Near East and described in the Talmudic agricultural codes. Sesame seeds carry 17 grams of protein per 100 grams, lower than beef in pure weight terms. But the calcium content is astronomical at nearly 1,000 milligrams per 100 grams, and the sesamin and sesamolin lignans have been associated in a 2018 British Journal of Nutrition paper with cardiovascular support. Grow sesame in warm climates. It needs a long, hot summer. It rewards patience with capsules that burst open at harvest. The sixth is the pumpkin seed, hidden in the biblical record under the broader Hebrew words for gourds, referenced in 2 Kings 4:39, when Elisha's servant gathered wild gourds into the pot. Pumpkin seeds hold a remarkable 30 grams of protein per 100 grams, putting them right alongside beef. They are rich in zinc, magnesium, and the phenolic quercetin. Dry them gently after carving your autumn pumpkins. Roast them at low temperature, around 160 degrees Celsius, for 12 minutes, with a pinch of sea salt, and you have a snack that meaningfully supports immune function and sleep architecture. The seventh is the sunflower seed. While sunflowers, as we know them, came later, from the Americas, the ancient world cultivated several related Asteraceae oilseed plants, and in modern biblical gardening contexts, the sunflower has earned a practical place. Sunflower kernels hold 21 grams of protein per 100 grams. They carry the phenolic chlorogenic acid, the tocopherol form of vitamin E, and a rich load of selenium. Plant sunflowers along a south-facing fence in late spring. Harvest the heads when the backs turn brown. Dry, hull, and store in glass. The eighth plant is the almond, Prunus dulcis, named explicitly in Numbers 17:8, when Aaron's rod budded overnight and yielded almonds, a tree considered so quick and prophetic that its Hebrew name, shaked, shares a root with the word to watch. Almonds hold 21 grams of protein per 100 grams. They carry monounsaturated oleic acid, significant vitamin E, and a meaningful amount of the flavonoid catechins associated in multiple studies with cardiovascular markers. A single almond tree, grown in a warm temperate zone, produces several pounds of nuts annually by its 4th year. The ninth is the pistachio, Pistachia vera, referenced in Genesis 43:11, when Jacob instructs his sons to carry the best produce of the land, including pistachio nuts, as a gift to the Egyptian official who was, unknown to them, Joseph. Pistachios hold 20 grams of protein per 100 grams, and they are unusually rich in the carotenoid lutein and the antioxidant anthocyanins. The tree takes patience. It requires 5 to 7 years to produce meaningfully. But in a warm, dry climate, a single mature pistachio tree can yield more than 40 pounds of nuts a year. The 10th plant is the humble chia seed, and while chia, Salvia hispanica, is more directly tied to Central American history, it belongs to the same Salvia genus as several plants, mentioned in biblical and ancient Near Eastern agricultural records. Chia holds 17 grams of protein per 100 grams, is among the richest plant sources of omega-3 fatty acids, and forms a mucilaginous gel when soaked that supports healthy digestion. Grow chia in full sun, well-drained soil, and harvest the tiny seeds from dried flower heads. But here is something modern science missed for a long time. The protein in these seeds is not just dense, it is structurally different. Plant proteins come bundled with polyphenols, fiber, and cofactors that animal proteins simply do not carry. A 2021 review in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, drawing on data from the pre-dimmed trial and multiple cohort studies, noted that diets built around legume and seed proteins are consistently associated with lower inflammatory markers and better cardiometabolic outcomes than equivalent protein intakes derived primarily from red meat. Research suggests The difference lies not in the protein itself, but in the molecular company it keeps. Here is where it gets specific. If you want to begin growing these plants, start with 3, not 10. 3. Choose lentils, pumpkin, and flax, because they are forgiving of beginner mistakes, grow well across most temperate zones, and cover the widest nutritional ground between them. Allocate a raised bed of roughly 4 feet by 8 feet. Divide it into thirds. Plant lentils in 1/3 in early spring. Plant flax in the second third at the same time. Plant pumpkin vines in the third section after the last frost, allowing them to trail out of the bed and into a mulched perimeter. By autumn, you will harvest all 3. The soil matters. Biblical agriculture understood soil fertility intuitively, and the Sabbath year rest, described in Leviticus 25, was, in modern agronomic terms, a built-in soil restoration cycle. You do not need to replicate a full year of fallow, but you should compost. Turn your kitchen scraps, add wood ash sparingly for potassium, rotate which corner gets the legumes each season. The soil is the temple beneath the garden. 1 Corinthians 6:19 speaks of the body as a temple, and the ancient writers understood that the body is downstream of the soil. You cannot have a nourished temple without nourished ground. Sourcing your seeds matters as much as sourcing your food. Look for heirloom, non-hybridized, open-pollinated seeds from a small regional seed saver. Avoid treated seeds coated with fungicides, unless you have a specific pest pressure that requires it. Many farmers' markets now sell dry seeds for both eating and planting, and these are often the most vibrant, freshest options available. A 1-ounce packet of heirloom lentil seed costs around $3 and will plant a 16-square-foot bed. That single bed, if tended with reasonable care, yields enough dry lentils to feed a family for 3 months. Compare that with the cost of 3 months of beef, and the economic calculus alone justifies the effort. Studies indicate that growing a portion of your own food is associated with measurable improvements in mood, sleep, and dietary quality. A finding that a 2022 paper in Frontiers in Microbiology connected partly to the diverse soil microbial exposures that gardening provides. Your gut microbiome, which mediates so much of your metabolic and immune life, is in conversation with the soil you touch. The ancients did not have that vocabulary. They simply knew that those who worked the land lived differently than those who did not. Deuteronomy 8:7-8 describes the Promised Land as a land of wheat and barley, of vines and fig trees and pomegranates, of olive oil and honey. Notice what is not on the list. Beef is not on the list. Meat is not excluded. Later texts reference livestock abundantly, but the defining agricultural identity of the covenant land is grains, legumes, fruits, oils, and sweetness. The Promised Land was a plant land. That orientation was not austerity, it was abundance calibrated to long life. What they understood intuitively, we now know molecularly. The pairing of legumes with whole grains, of seeds with fruits, of oils, with bitter herbs, creates a matrix of nutrients whose benefits scale not linearly, but synergistically. Growing even 2 or 3 of these plants in your own yard reconnects you to an agricultural literacy that 3 generations of supermarket convenience have almost erased. It is not nostalgia, it is recovery. So here is your concrete first step. This weekend, order a packet of heirloom lentil seeds and a packet of flax seeds from a reputable seed saver. Pick a 4-foot square corner of your yard, balcony, or raised bed. Loosen the soil to a depth of 8 inches. Mix in a few handfuls of compost. Wait for the soil temperature to reach roughly 50 degrees Fahrenheit, early spring in most northern climates. Broadcast your seeds. Water gently. Watch. Ezekiel 47:12 speaks of trees on both sides of the river whose leaves do not wither, whose fruit does not fail, because their water flows from the sanctuary. That is a vision of agricultural abundance rooted in the sacred. Your small garden, tended in the rhythm of your own weeks, is a modest participation in that same vision. It is not about self-sufficiency. It is about remembering that food comes from soil, that seeds carry silent protein, that the covenant plants have been waiting patiently for someone to notice them again. If this resonated with you, take the 30-day challenge. For the next 30 days, each morning, eat one handful of biblical seeds, any combination of pumpkin, flax, almond, or sunflower, instead of reaching for processed breakfast cereal. Observe how your energy moves through the day. Write down one sentence each evening about how you feel. At the end of 30 days, look back. That single small rhythm, kept faithfully, is worth more than any supplement bottle you could buy. Try it for 30 days. See what shifts. And when you come back, tell me what you noticed.